What's going on, everybody? Ratchet Wrench is back with another video. Today we're going to be working on the Project 2 valve. This is the turbo build. If you haven't seen our previous video, pretty much disassembled the whole bumper, wheels. We dropped the subframe. They'll all be in the previous video, and we'll link that up above if you really want to follow this build from start to finish. We have a leaking oil pan, so we're going to replace the gasket, and we're going to take it off anyways because we're going to have to drill into it, the oil pan for the return line, so it's just easier to do off the car. And we need an oil change anyway, so we'll do that. We're going to take the headers off, and we're just going to see what we could get done in today's video, and let's just jump right into it. It was not fun. It was tight in there. The long tube headers, the way the nut, like the headers are here, there's a nut here they have to get, it's against the block. It's just a nightmare, but we ended up getting that off. Now we went ahead and just deleted the EGR tube. We're pretty much going to use a block off plate that goes to this plenum here. As you can see, we got all sorts of Mustang parts. This is the EGR tube we removed here. This went to the intake plenum, remove that, and then this went to the header, which is somewhere on this side. Right here, and that was hard because it rusted up in the heat. But yeah, everything you see here, we got a catted X-pipe, catless X-pipe, and then the header, obviously the other one we'll get off now. This is all for sale. If you want to, comment on the video here, you probably have a better chance actually DMing us on Instagram. It'll just make it a lot more easier for sale and won't get lost in the comments. But we got the JLT intake. That's only seen about maybe 1,000, 2,000 miles, if that. That's pretty much brand new. We're going to sell that. Now we're going to pretty much remove the other side header and then do the oil pan. So this is pretty much just going to be the removal processes and get everything set up to be installed. So let's start grinding on the passenger side and then we'll take that oil pan out. Let's do it.
Day 2.
Alright guys, so as you can see, we're wearing different clothes. It's the next day. We actually ended up getting both side headers off camera because it was extremely difficult. I don't know if you could really see, but we had to pretty much snake our hands in between here, and it was just a nightmare. We were doing 1/4 inch turns at a time, so we finally got everything out of the way. Everything's ready to go. We did take the oil pan off. You don't have to do this. You could tap the oil drain line on the car, and while I'm here, I'm going to pretty much take some Scotch-Brite and really clean up the surface, just get a smooth contact surface, just so the gasket sits on flush and there's no leaks when we go to put it back up. So I'll get to town right now. So we got the surface nice and smooth here. Now we're pretty much going to tap in the oil drain bung here. It's got the hose side, and then this would be the threaded side that goes into the pan. So there's a couple different spots you can mount it. It's really personal preference, and depending on if you want to run AN fittings, which we probably will do down the line along with getting this welded in. Right now we're just going to tap it in, but just to get it up and running. A lot of people say this is a common fault area. So for now we'll just kind of put the kit to the test. But as I was saying, you could tap it in here, here, or here. I'm sure you could do more places, but the most commonly ones are these two and this one right here. I think for our style, we're gonna end up going right to the side here. It'd pretty much just be a flush seat. So that will make it so the line over here will kind of go like an S. The turbo's gonna sit right around here, so it's gonna kind of come around and connect on this side. I don't know if you'll be able to see that, but it'll kind of look like that. We'll make sure that there's no kinks or flat spots because you want to make sure you have a perfect flow. We got our little drill bit here. We're going to run a 3/8 just to set a pilot hole. We're going to try and get it as centered as possible. and we're going to do it kind of right in this area here. We're going to take into consideration that this is pretty wide, so we'll probably do it like right around there. And just note, if you do this on the car, that you want to put some grease to catch the shavings, so that your shavings don't go and mix in with your oil, or just really do an oil drain service and really clean it up. But it's easier now that we got it out. We don't have to worry about that. We'll just kind of scoop out the shavings. But once we get our pilot hole, we're going to get this bad boy in here and just kind of make the hole bigger and bigger, and so on and so forth. We're having a hard time finding the right size, so we're going to provide that to you once we figure it out. But most likely, I'm going to be 7/8, ½ inch, 9/16. It might be a 5/8 or 11/16. So we'll get to that once we get there. But luckily this is a cone bit, so we'll go one step at a time and we won't overdo it. So.
A few moments later.
Alright guys, we're back working on the turbo 2 valve. As you can tell, it's a different day. So we last left off with the oil drain bung right down here. As you can tell, it's not the prettiest because we smeared a bunch of RTV sealant all around that bung. We didn't do it exactly how, it's supposed to be done. We kind of threaded this aluminum bung into the pan, which you're supposed to get this kit and use a 3/8 inch -18 NPT, which is going to be that middle guy, which has threads. So that's going to create threads, oil pan, and that's how you're supposed to do it. We were kind of rushing the other night, but we actually got it to sit really well in the threads it made. So that should be fine. And then I went in the pan here and cleaned up everything. Like, you really got to be careful and make sure there's no metal shavings or anything inside the pan. So I made sure to wipe it all down and go over it again with a flashlight, make sure no metal shavings are anywhere, because that's no good for the engine. But yeah, so that's in. I'm gonna basically put the new gasket on here, and then we're gonna throw this thing back up in the car, get this oil pan in, and then the next step would be to get the K-member up and in, and then we'll just keep grinding from there. So let's do it. All right guys, check this out. We got the oil pan all buttoned up, the gaskets in place, put a little bit of RTV gasket sealant maker, whatever you want to call it, along so it kind of holds the gasket while you're putting the pan up to the bottom of the engine. Tightened all the bolts down. And then over here, like I mentioned before, we got our oil drain line, the bung that goes into the pan. So that's all sealed up like we mentioned before. And I got the jack with a piece of wood very lightly under the oil pan just to hold it until I get the K-member in. So that's actually the next step, the tubular K-member from UPR. So let's just get that right on. Alright guys, quick update. I went ahead and put the motor mount, actually we never took this motor mount off, so that one was on, but the two grounds on the left side there, I buttoned those up and torqued everything down. So that's on, and then if we head over to, oh god, almost tripping. Head over to the passenger side. We had to take the starter off to access the headers, so I bolted that back up. It's just 3 bolts, boom, 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 and then we'll connect that at a later point. Put the motor mount on for this side, and there is one ground on the bottom, one right there. So those are all torqued down, and yeah, so we're going to basically take our tubular K-member, which is over here. I'm gonna try and put the K-member in first and then bolt up all the A-arms. The instructions here, they just show the A-arms going in, off the car onto the K-member, but I just feel like that's going to be super awkward and going to be a difficult time, so I'm going to try and do this myself. This is the orientation, like if the front of the car was here, back of the car was there, it would go in like this. But without further ado, let's try and get this beast in. Alright boys, 10 out of 10 would not recommend doing this by yourself on the ground. It is possible, just major pain. So we got those two right here bolted in to the back subframe, I guess, and then up here we're going to bolt the 2 in, and then up here is like that locking mechanism type deal. So we'll button that up. I threw in that motor mount nut and washer just to, you know, keep it on its own weight for now. And another issue I'm seeing here, these lines running through there, that looks like an issue, so I'm gonna have to see if we need to relocate this piece or not, or what the deal is gonna be, but keep you updated. All right guys, we're on the driver's side. I suggest you do this side first. So you're gonna wanna get a flathead screwdriver, like so, and stick it up in the hole closer to the front of the car and kind of maneuver it back and forth in the hole so you can line this bolt up here first, and then you'll have enough arm strength to just pull it over like that. And then that's that locking mechanism. So I'm gonna thread this one in real quick and then hopefully just be able to put that one in, and then we'll move to the passenger side. Alright guys, thanks to the internet, I found something very useful. I'll put the link to the article in the description below because it really is helpful. This guy goes into incredible detail, but I just needed to figure out for the brake lines here. So I had to take off the one that goes to the frame down there and then take off this one here. So you need it as loose as possible, and then basically you're just going to bend these brake lines up and that way a little bit, and then that's where the top of the K-member will be flush like it should be, right up there. So I'm going to use a screwdriver and try and bend those brake lines that way a little bit, and let's see how that goes. I actually use a flathead screwdriver and a panel popper and kind of just manipulated these lines by prying on the K-member there. Also, it significantly helps if you pop the lines out of those little plastic holders there, so it gives you more leverage. And yeah, that's the way it runs down there. Yeah, just use a flathead and a panel popper and you should be good to go. Alright guys, as you can see, tubular K-member is complete. Not fully complete, got to do the A-arms and all the other suspension parts. I didn't really torque them down completely yet, I just, you know, snugged them up pretty good just so the engine's somewhat supported. I got the motor mounts on with the nut there in the washer, so, and then a little extra support on the bottom there, so it's not going anywhere. So as you can tell, I got some battle scars here. My hands are filthy, I'm exhausted. I was on the ground for like probably over an hour, so it was a battle with one person. Would not recommend unless you have two people and the right tools and everything. Doing it on the ground sucks without a lift, but you know, we can still knock it out. Like I said, we still got the A-arms and everything to assemble, and then we got the coilovers down there. I'm not sure if we'll put those on quite yet due to, you know, spacing underneath the car, but definitely in the next video. We install an intake manifold / headers. I actually just put the passenger side in and mocked it up, and it's crazy how this kit actually works, and you know, they thought about every little thing. But dude, I'm so excited for this.